Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about a topic that stirs up a lot of debate in churches, on social media, and even within our own families and friend circle. And that is, can women teach, preach, and or be prophets? More importantly, what does the Bible say about this? So let's dig into it. First, let's start off with what a prophet actually is. We're going to reference ancient Israel and the Hebrew scriptures. Prophets weren't just preachers, they were the living, breathing DMs from God. Yeah, that's right, they were direct messages, not just for themselves, but for the whole nation. So I would like you to imagine if the president or a leader of a country turned to a single person for advice. They're turning to this person because that person spoke directly to God Himself. Well, these prophets were used to shape nations. Now, here's an eye opener. God chose women as prophets just as He chose men. I'm going to dig down into some and go over some that's part of this roster. We have Miriam in Exodus 15:20. She led Israel in worship. Also, we have Deborah in Judges 4:4. She was a judge, she was a military leader, and a prophet. She called the shots. Next, we have Huldah. She's seen in 2 Kings 22:14 and also in 2 Chronicles 34:22. She was a God's trusted messenger to the king himself. Also, we have Nodiah. She's found in Nehemiah 6:14, and even though she was recognized most times as controversial. Also, Isaiah's wife, Isaiah 8:3. She was given the title as prophetess. So just imagine, right? Deborah sat under a palm tree and people lined up to receive God's wisdom from her. You can find this in Judges 4 through 5. Huldah was the one King Hosea went to when they discovered the book of the law and they needed to hear from God. This was in 2 Kings 22:14 through 20. These women didn't just preach, they literally gave the word of the Lord to kings and the whole nation. In Exodus 15:20, it reads, Then Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her with tambourines and dancing. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who not only has the keys to the car, they're the only one trusted to steer the whole family on a cross-country drive. Then someone from the back, who's not even driving, turns around and says, But you can't touch the radio or even give directions. Well, that's what it sounds like when people accept women as prophets in the Bible, but say that the same women can't teach or preach. Why would God entrust someone with changing the direction of a whole nation, but then say, nope, you're not allowed to read from the instruction manual? That doesn't make sense. They're speaking directly to God, and then they're regurgitating that information to an entire nation, but then they can't read what somebody else wrote down. It makes no sense. Some point to Paul's letters in the New Testament where he says he doesn't permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. They reference this as a reason to silence women in the church. But let's go back to the Hebrew scriptures. The same God who spoke the universe into existence did not hesitate to appoint women to be his national messengers. If being a prophet is higher, more direct calling than being a church preacher, why would God say yes to one and no to another? Well, he didn't. Even in the Greek, or you can call it the New Testament, you see women being recognized as prophets. Anna, who's found in Luke chapter 2, 36 through 38. She's an elderly widow called prophetess. She spoke to Jesus in the temple. Philip's 4 daughters, Acts 21st chapter, 9th verse. 4 unmarried women, all known for prophesying. We also see in Acts 2:17 through 18, where it says, your daughters will prophesy. Pentecost prophecy included women as prophets. So the real challenge is when you compare Paul's restrictions to God's clear instructions in the Hebrew scriptures. It becomes clear that Paul is adding to and taking away from what God has already approved, just like he usually does. Paul, he writes 5% of the Bible, but he's responsible for 95% of the arguments and confusion. Huldah was a prophet chosen through Jeremiah and Zephaniah, both male prophets, and they were all around at the same time. The king and the priest specifically sought out Huldah. Deborah commanded a general into battle and judged Israel for 40 years, longer than most kings. You see, there's no command anywhere in the Hebrew scriptures that says women can be prophets, teachers, or preachers. So here's the bottom line, okay? I need you to listen. If God trusted women to deliver his words when it mattered most, who are we to say that they shouldn't stand up and teach, preach, or prophesy today? Let's make sure our beliefs line up with God's track record and not our traditions. Thanks for watching. If this challenged your perspective, share it, comment, and let's keep the conversation going.